The beast stood 12 feet tall, made of muscle, bone, armor, and rage. Its forearms twitched with hunger, claws clicking. Drool dripped from tusks that could tear through steel. It had been grown, not born, trained, not raised. A weapon, a perfect killer. And now it had one mission: kill the human named Lieutenant Ava Cross. The Alien Council had watched with growing fear as human victories spread across sectors. They won battles they shouldn't. Their tech was primitive. Their numbers were low. But somehow, they kept winning. Their ships came out of nowhere. Their soldiers refused to die. So the Council stopped sending fleets. They sent one thing instead: the Gravari beast, a living weapon from the prison moons of Vrax. It had never failed. They dropped the beast onto the abandoned mining colony where Ava had taken shelter. Her ship was damaged. Communications were down. She was alone, or so the Council thought. The beast landed with a boom, the shockwave shaking loose metal from the ceiling. It sniffed the air, its black eyes scanning the dust and shadows. It moved with a terrifying grace, like a panther in heavy armor. Its mind was simple: hunt, kill, eat. But this time, something was different. As it stalked through the ruins, it felt something strange, not fear, not weakness, but music. Ava was playing a song on a small speaker. An old Earth melody. It echoed through the hollow corridors. Calm sad the beast paused. It had no word for confusion, but it felt it now. Ava waited in the dark, rifle ready, heart beat steady. She knew it was coming. She'd seen it fall from orbit like a meteor. But she didn't run. She didn't hide. She looked up at the stars and smiled. "Let's see what makes you bleed," she whispered. The beast roared as it burst through a wall, claws tearing through steel. Ava rolled, fired, then dove again. Plasma rounds slammed into the beast's hide. One burned a deep hole in its side. It howled, swung a claw the size of a tree trunk, and smashed into a support pillar. Ava kept moving. She wasn't stronger, she wasn't faster, but she was smarter. She'd studied the Gravari in captured data files. She knew where the organs were. She knew it was bred for fear, and humans didn't break the way other species did. "You're not the first thing to try and kill me," she said through gritted teeth. "You won't be the last." The fight raged for hours. Ava bled, bones cracked. She lost her rifle, then her knife. She used sharp metal rods, then her fists. The beast should have torn her apart. But something strange was happening. It wasn't killing her. It could have, many times. But it stopped. The beast stared at her, breathing heavily, covered in blood. It tilted its head like a curious animal. It saw her stand again and again, even broken, even dying. She didn't scream, she didn't beg. She fought, and for the first time in its life, the beast didn't feel like a weapon. It felt lost. Ava collapsed against a wall, blood soaking. Her uniform? "What are you waiting for?" She spat. The beast stepped closer. Then it did something no one expected. It dropped to one knee. It lowered its head. Ava blinked. "You, submitting?" It growled low, a sound that was neither threat nor rage, more like respect. From the edge of unconsciousness, Ava laughed. "Well, that's new." When the rescue team arrived days later, they found her unconscious, leaning against the beast's side. It didn't resist them. It just watched. They wanted to kill it. She stopped them with a look. "It's mine now," she said hoarsely. "Don't touch it." The scientists and generals were furious. "That thing was sent to kill you." She nodded. "And now it won't stop protecting me." The beast stayed close, silent, watching, learning. They tried to cage it. It broke the cages. They tried to sedate it. It resisted. But Ava, one word from her, and it obeyed. She called it Grim. Grim followed her onto battlefields. When human troops charged, Grim ran beside them. When enemies saw it, they screamed and ran. Some called it a god, others a demon. Ava just called it a friend. But the council wasn't done. They sent more beasts, more monsters, only to watch as Grim tore them apart with fury unmatched, always standing between them and Ava. It wasn't just a pet. It was loyal, devoted, worshipful. They sent a monster to kill a human. Now the monster had a god, and gods were not merciful. The council demanded an explanation. How could their perfect killer be turned? How did the humans break its programming? They got their answer in a video feed. Ava, standing tall, bloodied but alive, with Grim at her side. Like a shadow. "You don't understand humans," she said to the alien leaders. "You think pain stops us. You think fear controls us." She placed a hand on Grim's armored head. It leaned into her touch like a dog. "We don't break," she continued. "We bend the universe around us. Even your monsters." The council ordered her death. They sent fleets, assassins, agents. None returned. Grim killed with terrifying precision. But only when Ava allowed it. She became legend. So did the beast. On battlefield after battlefield, soldiers would see a massive figure on the horizon, claws dripping, eyes glowing. Then they'd see the woman beside it, calm and sure, and they would know death had arrived. Not just a human, a god with a monster's devotion, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The story of Ava and Grim spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Whispers turned to rumors. Rumors turned to fear. Entire alien battalions hesitated to engage when reports mentioned the human with the monster. Some called her the Beast Queen, others said she wasn't human anymore, that she had merged her soul with a Gravari and became something far worse. But Ava didn't care about the titles. She only cared about the next mission. Human command gave her full authority. No oversight. No questions. Wherever Ava and Grim were sent, enemy strongholds crumbled. Entire planets surrendered before a shot was fired. Grim didn't just kill. He crushed ships with his bare hands, ripped tanks in half, and brought down warwalkers by leaping onto them and tearing out their cores. But Ava knew the council wouldn't stop. They were building something, preparing, and she was right. The next mission was on the desolate moon of Gyric 9. It was supposed to be a recon operation. The human fleet detected strange energy spikes there. Ava was sent in alone, as always, with Grim. As they landed, the wind howled across the ice. The moon was cracked and silent. The only signs of life were deep beneath the surface, hidden inside a facility that didn't exist on any map. Ava knelt, brushing frost off an old emblem council design. "They've been building something here," she said. Grim sniffed the air, then growled low. Not like before. This time, it was uncertainty. They entered through a broken hatch. Inside, it was quiet. Too quiet. Dark corridors stretched into shadows. Strange machines blinked in the dark, powered by a reactor deep below. Then they found the pods, dozens of them, each one holding another Gravar. But these weren't like Grim. They were bigger, meaner, enhanced, hybridized with something else. They were making more, Ava whispered, but not weapons. She stepped closer and looked at one of the tubes. The creature inside had half a Gravari face and half something mechanical, with glowing blue eyes. "These are war gods," she muttered. "They're building monsters with minds." Grim stood still, staring at the pods. His muscles tensed. A low growl rumbled from his chest. The lights flickered, then a voice echoed through the room. Smooth, artificial. "Welcome, Ava Cross, you're right on time." Ava raised her weapon. "Who's speaking?" "I am the architect. The one they made to control the next evolution." From the far end of the chamber, a tall figure stepped out, shaped like a human but made entirely of black alloy. Glowing lines ran across its limbs. Its face was a blank silver plate, with no mouth, just light. "You turned one Gravari, clever. But we've made 50. Each smarter, faster, loyal, only to me." Ava didn't flinch, "And you're proud of that." "I'm progress." Grim stepped forward, placing himself between the architect and Ava. The architect tilted its head, curious. "The Gravari shouldn't resist me. You rewrote it somehow." "How?" Ava smirked. "I didn't rewrite anything. I earned it." The pods began to hiss. One by one, the new monsters woke, tall, armored eyes glowing. They stepped out, snarling, shaking frost from their limbs. 50-1, Ava didn't blink. Grim roared. The room exploded into chaos. Grim moved like thunder, leaping into the first hybrid, tearing it apart with savage fury. Ava ducked low, firing at weak points she'd calculated on the fly. The hybrids swarmed, screeching with synthetic voices. Grim was a blur. Claws flashing, slamming enemies into walls, breaking spines and snapping jaws. Ava backed into a pillar, reloading. One of the hybrids lunged at her. She ducked under its swing, rolled, and shoved a plasma grenade into its exposed vent. Boom! 2 more charged. Grim slammed one into the ceiling. The other grabbed Ava by the leg and threw her. She hit hard, gritting her teeth. The architect watched calmly. "You will fall. Your bond is emotional. Weak, we are logical, unstoppable." Ava coughed blood, rose to her knees. "You don't get it." Grim slammed down beside her, breathing hard but still ready to fight. She looked up at the architect. "We're not gods because we're perfect. We're gods because we choose each other. Even when it hurts." She pressed a button on her gauntlet. The core of the facility began to hum. "Self-destruct. A last resort. You wouldn't?" the architect said. Ava smiled, blood on her teeth. "Try me." Grim grabbed her and bolted down the corridor. Behind them, the architect screamed orders. The hybrids gave chase. Ava threw flash charges, slowing them. Grim burst through walls, charging straight up the main shaft to the surface. The ice cracked as they reached the landing zone. Ava activated the beacon. The ship was waiting. As they leaped aboard, the ground split behind them. A wave of fire erupted from the moon's core. The facility melted into ash. The architect was gone. The hybrids were ash. And in the firelight, Ava looked at Grim and nodded. "Let's go home." The crew stared at the two of them, battered and bloody. One whispered they destroyed a god factory. Someone else said, "No. They just proved only one god matters." Ava collapsed into her seat. Grim sat beside her, silent and still, but in his black eyes, something new burned. Not just rage, purpose, devotion, and something close to love. They sent monsters to kill a human. Now the monsters were dust, and the god walked among them still. The council was in chaos. Their moon facility was gone. Their architect destroyed. 50 hybrid war beasts vaporized. And the worst part, they had no idea how. Only scrambled footage survived. Ava standing tall in a burning corridor covered in blood, her eyes locked on the camera, and the Gravari behind her, roaring like a titan. The message was clear. They weren't safe. Not from her. Not from it. They'd created the ultimate predator. And now it followed a human. the high voice of the council, a shriveled creature of ancient bloodlines, slammed his claws on the war table. This ends now. Ava Cross must die. And that beast dismembered, cell by cell. The generals nodded. The scientists panicked. But someone new spoke up, an advisor from the deep systems, cloaked in grey robes. His voice was calm, cold. "There is one option left," he said. They listened, and what he suggested wasn't war. It was a trap. Far from human territory, on a planet called Virel Prime, they staged a disaster. A refugee ship broadcasting a human signal. A fake SOS. They calculated Ava would respond. Her record showed she never ignored distress calls. She didn't. The signal came through while Ava and Grimm were docked at the edge of the Minos belt, refueling. The message was weak, garbled, attacked. "Need evac. Human survivors." She stood up immediately. "Send coordinates to Helm." The crew hesitated. "Could be bait." She nodded. "Then let them try." Grimm was already at her side, sensing something off. He'd grown even more alert lately. Not just a beast anymore, smarter, quicker, almost strategic. When they landed on Virel Prime, the ruins looked real. Smoldering buildings, burned trees, the signal beacon lay crushed beneath rubble. Ava scanned the perimeter. No bodies, no debris from a ship crash. Grimm growled low, ears twitching to quiet. She turned to warn the crew when the ground exploded beneath them. Hidden cannons rose from the soil. Electromagnetic pulses burst into the air. Ava was thrown back, her armor fried. Grimm roared, but the blasts struck him too. Not enough to kill, but enough to stun. Paralyze. They came then. Not soldiers. Psychics. 10 of them, species unknown. Shrouded in white, their eyes glowing blue. They didn't carry weapons. They didn't need to. They reached into Grimm's mind. The beast convulsed, shook, roared. Ava tried to crawl toward him. No, get away from him. But the leader stepped forward, hovering above the ground, and raised one hand. Ava froze. Not from fear, from paralysis. Her body locked, her breath caught. She was trapped in her own skin. The psychic tilted his head. "Your bond is unnatural. He should not feel. It offends the balance." She spat blood. "Screw your balance." They pressed deeper into Grimm's mind. He shrieked. Ava had never heard him scream like that. Not even during battle. It was pain, on a level beyond physical. They weren't just hurting him, they were trying to erase what made him, him. The loyalty, the memories. Her they wanted to break the link. The leader stepped closer. "You gave him choice. We will take it back." But something went wrong. Grimm's mind pushed back hard. The psychic reeled, stunned. The others faltered. For a split second, Grimm's eyes glowed gold, not the usual red. Golden light blazed from his chest, and the earth beneath him cracked. He was resisting them. Fighting for her. Ava felt her muscles twitch. Control was returning. The psychic screamed, "Now, strip him!" But it was too late. Grimm broke free. In a single roar, the psychic web shattered. Ava rolled to her feet. Grimm slammed into the first attacker, reducing him to mist. The others tried to flee, but the monster was faster now. Angrier and smarter, he used the terrain. Crushed one with a boulder. Threw another into a tree so hard it cracked in half. Ava grabbed a dropped plasma knife and joined the chaos. The battle was short, and when it ended, the ground was soaked in alien blood. Ava limped to Grimm's side. His chest was scorched, cuts across his limbs. But he stood tall, breathing heavy. "Still with me?" she asked, voice shaking. Grimm didn't answer. He lowered his head, and for the first time, he spoke, not in full words, just a sound. A name, Ab-Va. She froze. He'd never spoken before, never tried. She placed a hand on his face. Say it again. Ava. A small, broken growl, but unmistakable. She smiled, tears forming. You remember me? He touched her shoulder, gently, almost like a human might. Then he looked up at the sky, toward the stars, toward whoever had tried to steal his mind. And he growled, again, not with fear, but with a promise. The council didn't just fail to kill Ava. They made her stronger. They woke something inside. Grim they couldn't control. The monster now had a voice, and it only spoke her name. The footage of Grim speaking one word, her name, was never meant to go public. But it leaked. Some said it was a human tech officer who posted it across the datanet. Others whispered that it was Grim himself, now learning, adapting, maybe even understanding communication systems. No one really knew. But within hours, millions of beings across dozens of systems saw it. The monstrous creature, soaked in blood, glowing golden, lowering its head to a broken human woman, and saying, in a deep, rough voice, Avi. It went viral, and that changed everything, because now, the story wasn't just about a human and her pet monster, it was about a bond, so strong, it broke programming, mind control, and every law of biology the galaxy knew, a human who made a beast believe. And that scared the council more than anything else. They weren't just losing battles anymore. They were losing the narrative. Alien soldiers began to hesitate. Some defected. Others refused to fight where Ava and Grim were rumored to be. Propaganda backfired, making them look like tyrants who tortured the innocent. The people were choosing a side, and they were choosing the human. So the council changed their strategy. They needed Ava discredited. They needed her seen not as a savior but as a threat. The new plan, break her reputation, not her body, and they knew just where to start. Earth.Ava didn't know what was coming until her ship received a priority broadcast from Sol Command. The message was simple. Ava Cross, return to Earth immediately. You are under investigation for war crimes. She read it 3 times, then once more, war crimes. She looked at Grim, who growled low. They're coming for us, she said, quietly. The trip back to Earth was silent. When they arrived, Ava wasn't allowed to land at the Standard Fleet base. She was redirected to an isolated military compound near the Arctic Circle. Cold, remote, guarded. The humans who met her wore full armor. No greetings, no smiles, just weapons raised, Grim growled. Ava raised a hand. Don't, we'll play their game. They separated her and Grim immediately. No explanation, no trial, just isolation. She was placed in a white room with no windows, monitored every second. Grim was taken underground. Strapped, scanned, studied. They tried to inject him. He broke the needles. They tried sonic pulses. He shattered the speakers. Only when Ava's voice echoed through a hidden speaker, calm and clear, did he finally stop thrashing. Grim, she said, we're not done yet. Hold on. He went still, and the scientists watching finally understood. This wasn't loyalty, it was love. Not romantic, not human, but something older, purer. The council's plan had reached Earth. False evidence was presented. Doctored footage, twisted reports, manufactured witness accounts. They said Ava had ordered attacks on refugee convoys. Said she let Grim kill civilians. Said she'd gone rogue. Some believed it. Others didn't. But it didn't matter. They locked her in a cell and told her she'd never see combat again. That she was a risk to humanity itself. That the beast had infected her mind. She laughed in their faces. "Let me out," she said, "or you'll see what a real monster looks like." Grim, in the dark below, began to change. Not physically, but something deep in his mind. He'd been tortured, controlled, hunted, and betrayed. But nothing compared to the pain of being kept from Ava. He didn't rage, he planned. For days, the base monitored Grim as his energy levels shifted. His neural readings evolved. He was thinking, strategizing, becoming, and then he broke free. Security alarms wailed, lights exploded, soldiers scrambled. He moved like a storm, ripping through walls, bypassing locked doors. Not killing, not yet, just tearing a path. To her, Ava heard the chaos. Through her cell wall, footsteps, screams, the crack of steel, then silence, and finally, a breath. Her door opened. Grim stood there, towering, chest heaving. His eyes glowed gold. He didn't speak, he didn't need to. Ava stepped forward and smiled. "Took you long enough." He knelt. She climbed onto his back. They stormed the exit together. Outside, tanks waited, drones, battle walkers. Ava raised her voice to the loudspeakers. "You locked me away, lied about me, betrayed me." She looked down at Grim. He looked back, with done asking for permission. She pointed toward the sky. "Let's show them what real monsters look like." Grim roared, and Earth watched as its most feared weapon and its most dangerous soldier took to the stars again, not in service of any flag, but of each other. From that moment on, they weren't assets, they weren't soldiers. They were something else entirely, a god and her monster, and now they were finally free. The ship Ava and Grim stole from Earth Command was old, rusted, and barely spaceworthy, but it flew, and that was all they needed. Ava patched the hull with scrap metal, and rewired the controls herself. Grim sat silently beside her in the cockpit, too large for the co-pilot seat, but unwilling to leave her side. His eyes scanned every star, every shadow. He didn't trust anyone anymore, neither did she. The human government labeled her a traitor. The council still wanted her dead, and now the rest of the galaxy didn't know what to believe. She was hunted by both sides, but she smiled anyway, because, for the first time, she was finally calling the shots. Their first target wasn't military, it was a listening station, one of the council's black sites, hidden deep in the gravity well of a dying gas giant. From there, they intercepted human communications and jammed Ava's message every time. She tried to speak the truth, so she went to shut it down. They didn't sneak in, they walked in through the front. The guards recognized her too late. Grim crushed the blast doors with his bare hands. Alarms screamed. Security bots opened fire. Ava moved like lightning, disabling turrets and taking out shields. Grim didn't waste time. He charged straight into the core. The director of the station tried to escape. He didn't make it far. When it was over, Ava stood in front of the broadcast terminal. Her knuckles were bleeding. Grim was covered in carbon scoring. She turned on the comms and went live. "This is Ava Cross. You've heard the lies, now hear the truth." She told the galaxy everything about the Gravari project, about the architect, about the council's lies, Earth's betrayal, and the monster they tried to use, and how he became something more. She ended with 5 words. "We're not hiding anymore." Then she let the station burn. After that, things changed. People listened. Some called her a terrorist, others called her a hero. But the systems at the edge of council space, they started resisting. Small rebellions, quiet defections, whispers of a new force rising. Not led by politicians or soldiers, but by a woman with a beast at her side. They called her the Godwalker, and wherever she went, the powerful trembled. The council panicked. They unleashed their deadliest weapons. Reawakened ancient AI fleets, released war beasts from their deepest prisons. But it didn't matter. Ava and Grim danced through the chaos like fire and shadow. One system after another fell to rebellion. The final straw came at Draxil Prime, a planet-sized command hub, guarded by 3 dreadnoughts and a dozen orbital cannons. Ava didn't bring an army. She just walked in with Grim. She sent a single message to the commander: surrender, or watch it all burn. They laughed until Grim dropped from orbit like a meteor, smashing through the primary cannon in a single blow. Until Ava hacked the dreadnought's defense grid mid-flight and sent its own torpedoes crashing into its hull. In 6 hours, Draxil Prime was silent, and Ava sat in the command chair, legs crossed, sipping recycled coffee. "We didn't even break a sweat," she muttered. Grim sat at her feet, calm and still, but ready. Ways ready. That night she looked out at the stars and said quietly, "They wanted a god. They got one." Grim looked up. "No," he rumbled. "They got to." It was the first full sentence he ever spoke. She froze, then smiled. Maybe this wasn't just a war. Maybe it was evolution. The galaxy would never forget what came next, because Ava and Grim weren't just fighting back anymore. They were changing everything. And the old powers, they were running out of time. The Council's secret bunker, buried inside a hollowed asteroid in Sector 14 Zeta, was considered unbreachable. 3 defense grids, quantum cloaking, an AI firewall that had rewritten its own code 1,000 times. No one got in, no one even knew it was there. But Ava Cross knew, because one of the Council's own generals sent her the coordinates. Not out of loyalty, out of fear. The galaxy was tipping, and people on both sides were beginning to realize something terrifying. This war wasn't about planets anymore. It was about the future of thought, of will, of power itself. Because Ava hadn't just bonded with a monster, she had made it evolve, and it was changing her. Too, the lines between weapon, mind, and godhood were starting to blur. In ways no one understood except them. She and Grim, the stolen ship, coasted through the asteroid belt, shields down. Systems dark, cloaked by gravity shadows. Grim stood behind her, quiet, watching, always watching. They'd stopped talking much, not out of silence, but out of understanding. They didn't need words anymore. A glance, a movement, a breath. That was enough. When the asteroid came into view, Ava smiled. "Knock knock," she whispered, and then they descended. The defenses activated immediately. Plasma webs, railguns, drone clouds. Ava dove through them like a flame through paper. Grim launched from the airlock in mid-flight, smashing a rotating cannon before it could even track him. They tore into the bunker, room by room. Hall by hall. Every soldier sent to stop them didn't come back. Ava moved like a storm. She used alien weapons, human blades, and her bare fists. She didn't pause, she didn't hesitate, and Grim was no longer just a beast. He was something else now. His skin shimmered with nanites scavenged from broken enemies. His mind was adapting faster than any AI on record. At one point, he stopped to rip a control panel from a wall, plugged a fiber cable into his own chest, and downloaded the bunker's security system in seconds. He wasn't the same creature that had landed on that mining colony. He wasn't even a creature anymore. He was becoming something more. They reached the council chamber. 12 alien figures in robes of silver and crystal stood trembling before them. One tried to speak. We didn't know. Ava raised a hand. You knew. You built him. You made me. Her voice didn't shake. Now you live with what you created. The council begged, offered money, power, secrecy. Ava looked at Grim. He looked back, then turned and walked out of the chamber. Ava followed. She didn't need to kill them. They had already lost everything. The next morning, the bunker was empty. Broadcast towers across 100 systems flared online at once. A single message echoed. The old order is dead. The gods walk now. Choose your future. And across the stars, the people chose, not because of fear, but because of belief. Because somewhere in their hearts, they wanted something to believe in. Something strong enough to protect them. Human enough to care. And monstrous enough to destroy what needed to die. Ava and Grim became that myth. They didn't lead governments. They didn't claim thrones. They walked the edge of every war zone, answering only the calls they chose. Sometimes they brought peace. Sometimes they brought fire, but always they brought justice. And soon, even their enemies began to pray. Not for salvation, but that they would never hear the sound of footsteps behind them in the dark, because if they did, they knew who was coming, and mercy would not be part of it. Ava sat alone on the edge of a shattered moon, legs hanging off a cliff of silver rock, staring at the distant swirl of a dying sun. She didn't speak, didn't move. Grim stood behind her, massive and silent, his shadow cast long across the craters. Around them, the ruins of the last council bastion smoldered, broken towers, burned flags, scorched armor. It was over. The war, the lies, the control. Done. They'd won. But victory didn't feel the way she expected. Ava let the silence stretch before she finally whispered, "What now?" Grim didn't answer. He stepped beside her and looked to the stars. His eyes weren't red anymore. They had become a swirling gold and violet, strange, beautiful, and impossibly deep. He had changed. They both had. Once he was a monster built to kill. Now he was something else, a force, a guardian, a god, maybe. And Ava. She had been a soldier, a tool in a broken machine. Now she was free, and terrified of what came next. Suddenly, from the quiet, a ping, a signal, encrypted, ancient human code, but modified. Ava raised her wristband. Who's sending this? The message opened. Not audio, not video. Just text. We found another one, older than Grim, still asleep, coordinates locked. She blinked. Grim turned to her, head tilting. She looked at him. There's more, not just more Gravari, more like him, hidden, buried, forgotten by the council, maybe even before the war, built for something else. Or something worse. Grim growled low, not out of anger, but warning. Ava stood. Her legs ached, her back burned, but she stood tall anyway. Then we go, she said. He nodded. Because they weren't finished. The war might have ended, but the story hadn't. Across the stars, remnants stirred. Machines, long thought lost, began to wake. Creatures born in dark labs whispered Ava's name through neural echoes. Some feared her, others worshipped her, but all of them knew the truth. She wasn't just a human anymore. She was a force of will, of fire. Of belief. The galaxy now had a legend, a living god, who walked with a beast once sent to kill her. And as that god stepped into her ship with the monster who called her by name, one last message echoed across the stars. You tried to send a monster to kill a human. Now that monster has a god, and together they are hunting what you tried to bury. Then silence. Stars blinked. Engines roared. And the myth flew on. Forever.